Do the hormones help with that part?
Yes and no. Hormones will help to slow it down, but I still have to shave every other day. And I hate it, but it's something I have to go through.
That's all right. Some other women have to shave anyway.
Well, I have a question, and I don't know if you really know since you're male to female. There was a young man who came for several years here, and you may know him, Matt. He's from the Transgender Center down in, do you know
The
Matt?
center in northern Colorado actually
Yeah.
had him recently. Yeah.
Well, you know, he talks about how he would probably, at this point in his life, and it's been about 5 years since the last time we spoke here, but he said he probably would not go through bottom surgery because while it works well for male to female, at least 5 years ago, it did not work so much
doesn't.
for female to male. And he said, you know, it's expensive, it doesn't work that well, it's painful. And so he talked about this growing community of female to males who just don't have
The
bottom.
trans enough movement.
That they just don't have bottom surgery.
Yeah. I am actually a member of a group called Eclectic at the Center of Northern Colorado, which is basically a GLBT center in Fort Collins. It's also connected to a larger group in Fort Collins called The Center. And we have 23 trans people just in Fort Collins, which is larger than the community in Texas proportionally. Not even joking. Like Austin, Texas, Fort Collins, population of trans people in Fort Collins, population in Texas. Like, it's pretty huge and very large. And a large portion of them are actually female to male. And hardly any of them want the surgery because of the risks that are involved. Because with the female to male surgery, it doesn't actually totally work. It's not a fully functioning penis. And it's incredibly expensive. It's 4 times more, I think. The male to female surgery is about $20,000, and the male to female surgery is about $80,000. So imagine that, like actually doing that. Like that's one of the huge things about my transition is that my view on the SRS is that I will get it if I have the money. I'm not going to spend all of this money that could be spent on a house and a degree and things like that on a...
Do you want a family?
Yeah.
Do you want a family?
I do.
So that might be
my partner and I.
consider.
Adoption. I want to do adoptions. My partner doesn't actually want anything, doesn't want to actually have children. She's very independent in that respect. So, I don't know.
Okay. Sorry. Fiona.
It's your turn.
Oh,
You've been waiting patiently.
Well, I had a question just about kind of, I mean, I'm sure you guys had a lot of conversations with people that don't agree, you know, a lot of conversations. But what do you say to people that say, okay, you know, I'm sure that they're born this way, but it's still a choice? I mean, what is your response to that? I'm not trying to, you know, open a big can of worms.
Well, I would say this. My experience is much different than my colleagues here because I had a supportive family. I lived in a supportive community. I did not have to face what these young folks have faced. But you know, having heard their story, who in the hell would have chose that? You know, who the hell would have chose that? You don't choose that, you know. And, you know, just from my own, you know, really when I say I love Freddie Starr at age 5, my daddy's lesbian cousin, you know, that was in me. I am sure that I was born who I am, You know, I didn't choose to be a lesbian. I just always was a lesbian. So,
But there are people who say, okay, you might be a lesbian, but you shouldn't act on it. That's more what I mean, is like,
oh,
you know.
Well, anybody can choose to be celibate, but who wants to be? I mean, honestly, no straight person, well, that's not true, but very few straight people really choose celibacy as a lifestyle. And why would you force it on someone?
I would not consider being tortured by myself for no reason since the age of 9 to 18 as being a choice that I would at any point make. I do agree that there is a choice that was made, and that choice is whether or not to come out. And I made the choice to make the transition, and I made the choice to do it now as opposed to later. But the fact still remains, even if I had not made that choice, I would still be feeling just as bad my entire life. And I feel that I am much more helpful to society and much more useful when I am happy than wanting to kill myself, honestly. Like, I know that's pretty heavy words, but would you want someone to live torturing themselves for the betterment of people around them? Or would you rather them be happy and then the people that are around them can come to terms with it?
and you know, suicide among gay youth is a big issue in our country. It is a devastating issue in our country. And that's why I think gatherings like this are so good, because, you know, it's one thing for us as adults to interact and deal with these issues, but I hope that one thing that comes out of this is that for each of you who leave this room, you will, I can guarantee you, you will encounter a youth who is struggling. And that is the youth you want to embrace, whatever embracing means. And so take that with you, you know, as you leave.